Something major is unfolding right now, and the message coming out of Iran is not subtle. It's not cautious. It's not diplomatic. It's direct. Iran is saying, in no uncertain terms, that it will decide when and how this war ends. And that single statement changes everything. Because wars are not just fought with weapons, they're fought with narratives. And when a country declares that it controls the ending, it's doing more than projecting confidence. It's sending a signal to its enemies, to its allies, and to the entire world. This conflict is far from over, and the timeline may not be what anyone else expects. To understand how we got here, you have to look at just how fast things have escalated. In late February 2026, a series of coordinated strikes by the United States and Israel targeted key Iranian military and leadership positions. These weren't minor operations. These were high-impact, high-risk moves that included the assassination of Iran's supreme leader Ali Khamenei in Tehran, an event that instantly shifted the balance of power and sent shockwaves across the region. What followed wasn't hesitation. It was retaliation. Iran responded with missile and drone strikes, targeting both Israeli positions and U.S. military bases in the region. And almost immediately, the situation expanded beyond a simple exchange of fire. The Strait of Hormuz, one of the most critical oil routes in the world, became a flashpoint, with Iran warning ships to stay away and effectively disrupting global energy flows. Now think about that for a second. This isn't just a regional conflict anymore. When shipping lanes close and oil markets panic, the entire global economy starts to feel the pressure. Prices rise, supply chains tighten, and suddenly, a war thousands of miles away is affecting everyday life across the world. But here's where things get even more intense. U.S. officials have made it clear that this is not going to be a short, clean operation. Despite early claims that the campaign could be quick, military leaders are now warning that achieving objectives will take time and involve complex, difficult work. At the same time, there's a strong insistence that this will not turn into an endless war, even as operations continue to expand. That contradiction between speed and uncertainty is exactly what makes this moment so dangerous. Because on one side, you have a powerful coalition aiming to dismantle Iran's military capabilities. On the other, you have Iran declaring that it didn't start this war, but it will decide how it ends. And that statement isn't new. Iranian leaders have been repeating this line for months, emphasizing that while they may not seek conflict, they fully intend to control its conclusion if forced into one. So what does that actually mean? It means this conflict is no longer just about military strikes. It's about endurance. It's about who can sustain pressure longer, who can absorb more damage, and who can shape the final outcome in a way that looks like victory. And here's the reality that many people don't want to face. Wars like this rarely end quickly. Even when one side appears to have the upper hand, the situation can shift overnight. A single miscalculation, a single unexpected move, and everything changes. We've already seen signs of that unpredictability. Reports indicate casualties on multiple sides, including U.S. troops, with leaders warning that more losses are likely before the conflict is over. That's a reminder that this isn't just strategy and geopolitics. It's real people, real consequences, and real escalation. And then there's the psychological aspect. When a nation publicly declares control over the end of a war, it's also trying to shape perception. It's telling its population to stay resilient. It's warning its enemies not to underestimate it. And it's signaling to the world that it's prepared for a long fight. But perception can be a double-edged sword. Because the more each side commits to its narrative, the harder it becomes to back down. The higher the stakes rise, the narrower the path to de-escalation becomes. Right now, we are watching that tension build in real time. You've got a conflict that began with targeted strikes but is rapidly expanding into something much bigger. You've got leadership changes at the highest level, including the sudden removal of one of the most powerful figures in Iran's history. You've got global markets reacting, military forces mobilizing, and governments trying to figure out what happens next. And in the middle of all this, you have that one statement echoing louder than anything else. Iran will decide when and how the war ends. So, what are the possible outcomes? One scenario is prolonged conflict, a drawn-out series of strikes, counterstrikes, and strategic moves that stretch on for weeks or even months. This is the kind of situation where both sides avoid full-scale escalation but continue applying pressure, hoping the other will eventually give in. Another possibility is sudden escalation, a major event, something unexpected, that forces both sides into a more direct and intense confrontation. This is the scenario that analysts worry about the most because once escalation crosses a certain threshold, it becomes incredibly difficult to control. And then there's the wildcard scenario, a negotiated end. Despite all the rhetoric, despite all the posturing, there's always the possibility that back-channel talks are happening behind the scenes. That while leaders make bold public statements, diplomats are quietly working to find a way out. But even in that case, the question remains, who gets to claim they decided the outcome? Because in modern conflicts, perception of victory can be just as important as actual results. And that brings us back to where we started. This isn't just a war of weapons. It's a war of timing, of messaging, of control. When Iran says it will decide when and how the war ends, it's not just making a statement, it's setting the stage. It's defining the terms of the conflict in a way that forces everyone else to respond. And the truth is, no one knows exactly how this will play out. Not the analysts, not the politicians, not even the people directly involved. What we do know is this: the situation is moving fast. The stakes are incredibly high, and every decision from this point forward has the potential to reshape not just the region, but the world. So the next time you see a headline, the next time you hear an update, remember this moment. Because this is one of those turning points, the kind where history doesn't just happen slowly over time.